Hello, kindergarten and first grade teachers. I thought I would go through the practice calibration and show you how you can use this flow map that I've made for you with each of the domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and show you my thinking process as I go through these calibration questions. I'm assuming that the real calibration is set up the same as this. I've never done the real calibration, but let me just show you how I go through this. Okay, let's launch this. Okay, submit. Next. Okay, so what you're going to have is you've obviously got your choices: beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. So let's look at this one, reading. Now, if you look at your, before you even go through this and review it, if you look at your flow map that I gave you, this is all based off the PLDs. If you want to look at the PLDs, you can. But the first question here in the flow map is the student is able to decode most of grade level appropriate text. So if they're not able to decode grade level appropriate text, it's going to take you to no, and that's going to be either beginning or intermediate. If they're able to decode most of grade level appropriate text, it's going to put you on the advanced high track. Now, how do you know if it's advanced or if it's advanced high? If you see things like comprehend most, still needs some support, pauses, there's some errors. If there's still some things they're not quite getting, that's going to put you on the advanced track. Now, if they're able to cruise through the reading and comprehend main points and supporting details and decode similar to a native speaker, that's going to be advanced high. So if they're able to decode, it's going to put them on advanced or advanced high. If the key word you're looking for is understand most of, require some support, that would be advanced. If they're able to do, comprehend, decode, advanced high. If they're not able to decode, that's going to put them on beginning or intermediate. Intermediate is going to be basic. They're able to understand basic stuff. If they're struggling to understand any of it, they don't get any of it, then that would be beginning. So let's look at that with that in mind. Okay, so I look right here. Alok understands quite a bit of English and is able, with second language acquisition support, to decode many of the words. I already know what it is. He's able to decode most of the words, but he needs second language acquisition support. What do you think that's going to be? I come to my flow map and I see advanced. Comprehend most of what recognize some high frequency words, able to decode most grade level appropriate print, but they still need some support. So this is advanced. I don't even have to read any further. Okay? So when I read stories aloud, because that's part of it too, is to read aloud, Alok knows enough English to answer most comprehension questions about main points and important details. He occasionally hears language that is unfamiliar to him. So if they're still not quite getting it all, they're going to be advanced, but they've got a lot of it. So advanced is they have most of it. They have most, but not all. That makes sense? Okay. So let's listen to this, see what it says. Here's another key word. He showed that with linguistic supports, he could decode and understand vocabulary. Okay?
Touch, skin, small, nose, see, eye, hear, air,
Ear, like your ear.
taste,
Tongue.
sound, feel.
Okay, so you get the idea. He's able to have mostly success, but it's not like he's just fluently reading them. He still needs some support. So I'm going to go with advanced on that one. All right, let's look at the next one. Araceli, grade 1, reading. Okay, so we're still in the reading. So Araceli understands the English used in our classroom reading activities and content area materials. So I already know we're on the advanced high track. She is able to understand the stories that I read aloud, and she participates in shared reading. All right, we still don't have enough details here. Araceli has good comprehension of grade-appropriate books. In reading group the other day, she and a partner were reading Clifford Goes to Hollywood. She was able to use the context within the story to understand challenging vocabulary. I already know. She's able to understand the challenging vocabulary. She's able to read. What are you thinking? I already have the answer in my mind. Let's listen to her read.
In winter we go sliding together.
Reading fluently.
One day a man stopped us and asked
that's not her
if
reading.
Clifford would like
That's
to
her
be in
partner.
a movie.
Let's listen to
Clifford
Araceli.
had to take a screen test. The man told him to act happy.
Okay.
Okay, here comes
Clifford
Araceli.
act happy. Then he asked him to act angry.
Okay, let's stop right there. Now,
Okay, so was she able to decode? She was decoding pretty fluently, right? So let's keep going. As Araceli and her partner continue reading, they discover that Clifford became a movie star. In one part of the book, Araceli read that Clifford received special treatment after becoming a star. When I asked what that meant, Araceli demonstrated comprehension of what she read as shown. Does she have good comprehension? Well, let's see.
okay, now wait.
I think it's way back here. It takes a while to get there.
Oh, he gets a big fancy pool to swim in.
And his collars are his collars are too.
Or what?
They are kind of like for a movie star.
Okay.
With the diamonds and everything.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
so they're kind of
diamonds,
fancy
yeah.
and diamonds. Okay.
So she's able to get because he's a star, he gets a collar with fancy diamonds. So she's able to decode fluently. She's able to understand and comprehend the text and give comprehension answers. Bang. Advanced high. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so now we got kindergarten. We got Jasmine writing. All right, so it's important to read this and not just look at the writing. Okay, so let's read this and see what we find. Jasmine's English vocabulary has expanded a lot. Okay, so we know that she's got a good, decent vocabulary, which helps her better choose the words she's looking for when she speaks and writes. During writing workshop, Jasmine likes to share her stories with the class with second language acquisition support. Ding, 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 ding. That's the key phrase right there, with second language acquisition support. So let's go to our flow chart. Let's go to our flow chart and writing. Okay, let's look at this. All right, so let's see how we divide it in writing. Can write with at least some detail in English. All right, can they write with some detail? If they can write with some detail, it's going to put them on the advanced. They say yes, it's going to put them on the advanced or advanced high track. If they can write, if it's just not much detail at all, then take them to the other side, beginning or intermediate. So, with second language acquisition support, she is usually able to use grade appropriate English to talk about what she has written. So remember, advanced is they've got details, they're pushing towards being able to understand everything, but they still need some support, but they're getting close. So this is the key phrase, with second language acquisition support. So let's look at her writing. I like play soccer. You kick the soccer ball, and if you, I need help reading kindergarten writing. Kick it at the goal, you win the soccer ball game. Pretty good writing for a kindergartner. It's got complete thoughts, it's organized, it makes sense, but they still need some second language acquisition support, according to this. Now, I'm not a kindergarten teacher, but I think that's pretty good kindergarten writing. Let's look at this. When answering her classmates' questions about soccer story, Jasmine was able to give some details about why she likes the sport. That's the key word, some details, not many details, some details. So I already know. Second language acquisition support, some detail. If you look at your flow chart right here, all right, over here on the advanced side, they're able to give some detail in English, yes. Write with some detail. Needs second language support to participate in most grade level activities. Can use grade appropriate vocabulary mostly. Can express themselves in writing, but needs second language support. So that's the key phrase there. They're able to express, but they need second language acquisition support. Done. On to the next one. All right, grade 1, Alyssa, listening. Okay, let's look at listening. All right, listening. All right, here's our flow chart. Starts with can understand long discussions, directions, and conversations on familiar and some unfamiliar topics. So the key thing is long conversations. If they're able to understand long conversations, that pushes them to the advanced high track. If not, that pushes them to beginning intermediate. So let's see what we find. Okay, during math groups, I introduced a new game. Alyssa was able to understand the directions and participate in the game as shown. All right, Alyssa is also able to follow along during longer, there's the key word, class discussions. We already know she's over here. Long classroom discussions, she's able to follow along. She rarely asks me to slow down or rephrase what I say. Okay, so I'm starting to think this, is she rarely asks her to repeat. When Alyssa talks to her friends, she's typically able to understand them without processing time, so it's quick. During class activity a few days ago, the students were participating in their new spelling words on the Promethean board. Even though I had introduced spelling words that same day, Alyssa was able to participate as shown. So she's getting it like the first time, basically. Last week, I read Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, then assigned students to make their own weather report. Alyssa was able to understand the instructions and complete her weather report as shown. Okay, so let's see.
Where's your weather happening at? It's going to be donuts. But where is it happening?
Doesn't need processing time.
At Texas. Oh, in Texas. Okay, so we want to put weather report for Texas. It's going to be sunny with a chance of donuts and pancakes. Oh, is there going to be syrup getting everybody sticky?
Quickly.
Yeah. Okay. What's that chocolate stuff that we see in the cafeteria? Do you think any of that's going to come down? Yeah. What is that called? Do you remember? Pudding. Pudding. What kind of pudding would you have coming down? Because I think it should rain pudding, probably. Chocolate pudding. Chocolate pudding. Is that your favorite?
So see how she's able to understand without any wait time. The teacher doesn't have to rephrase or use different words, and they're talking about the book and they're writing. So I'm going to go with advanced high on this one because she didn't really need any second language acquisition support. Okay, so here if they're advanced, they might need visuals. They understand most of the main points, but occasionally require the speaker to slow down, rephrase, or repeat. The teacher didn't have to slow down, rephrase, or repeat. Okay, so that's advanced high. Okay, speaking. Let's look at speaking. Okay, now this one was tricky because when I listened to the actual student on the first time, I didn't read through this. I was just trying to listen to the student, and I would score the student different than what the response is based on this. But again, I'm not a kindergarten teacher, but anyhow, let's look at what it says. Okay, kindergarten. In response to a read aloud about a man who was always grumpy, the students wrote in their journals about a time when they felt angry. When I asked Yasmin about what she put in her journal, she was able to express her ideas clearly. Okay, key word there. Express your ideas clearly without hesitation. Okay, so not a lot of processing time. Using the past tense, some irregular verb forms. Okay, so they're using more complex language structures. Right? Let's keep reading before we listen to anything. As Yasmin sorted pictures into categories of needs and wants, I asked her some questions. Yazim, I guess I'm mispronouncing that. Yazim was able to discuss her work comfortably, another key word, as shown here. When Yasmin talked about her little brother, I noticed that she spoke at length in a natural, comfortable way. So all of this is saying it's a fluent response. She's speaking comfortably. She's using irregular past tense verbs. Let's see what this one. She was able to describe and elaborate, so giving more details. Okay, advanced might just be describe in some detail, but if you're elaborating and you're doing it in a spontaneous way, I'm thinking we know it's here or here, right? Let's listen to her and see what you think.
Can you tell me about a time that you were grumpy?
I played with my brother and he broke my rainbow and I was grumpy.
Oh my goodness, what happened then?
So she used past tense there. I played with my brother and he broke my rainbow, that's the irregular, broke is irregular, past tense, and I was angry. So it's a pretty complex language structure, and she responded pretty quickly, okay?
Then I told my mom.
Told my mom, another
And so
irregular.
tell me about what you drew then.
This is the rainbow my brother broke.
Can you tell
But you notice there that she said, this is the rainbow that my brother broke, which is a normal, I don't want to go into too much detail with you here, but that's a normal what's called overgeneralization for with kids that are learning language. Even if it's their first language, they'll substitute in the like a regular form of grammar, like putting in the ed for to break. It broked, but but she did use it. It braked, I guess, instead of, she said it broked. So, but that's normal. But she was able to do it in other contexts. Okay. So yeah. So what do we think? Based on what it's talking about here, here's the key words. Express your ideas clearly, without hesitation, using past tense, some irregular verb forms. So this is for kindergartner. Okay. Should discuss her work comfortably. No, she spoke at length in a natural, comfortable way. So that tells us everything we need to know. It's going to be advanced high. Okay, speaking, Alex. Okay, here we just have to read this. After reading a book to the class about a boy who moved to a new school, I let each student talk about their experiences of going to school for the first time or moving to a new place. When Alex spoke, okay, we're doing speaking, he showed a grasp of basic grammar and attempted to connect ideas using complex sentences. Okay, so we know we can rule this out. Basic grammar. He attempted complex sentences. Okay, we still don't have a lot of information. During a social studies activity, Alex spoke about a picture he made of a policeman. He was able to speak in some detail about what policemen do. There's the key word, some detail. Although he made a few errors and paused to repeat himself, he was able to use some complex sentences. We got all the information that we need. Okay? Speaking. Is he speaking similar to native speaking peers? No. Is he comfortable in academic conversations on familiar topics? Some pauses to restate, repeat, clarify meaning, use past, present tense, and future tense. Errors somewhat impede communication. Yes. Okay, that would be advanced. Okay, let's see if this is it. He participates in short conversations, hesitate and pause frequently, rarely speak using detail, use primary tense. Errors hinder overall communication. So he's able to speak in some detail, and it's not really getting in the way of the conversation. So we know it's not this because he's making some errors. He's having to pause to repeat himself, but he is able to use some complex sentences. So intermediate is no complex sentences that they're doing. It's very basic. Okay, so basic, some, fluent. Okay, basically none, basic, some, fluent. Okay, once Alex gets comfortable with new science topics, okay, which is, if they're comfortable, advanced will be able to do more, but they have to become comfortable. They can't just be spontaneous about it. He showed the ability to describe shapes and properties of different rocks, but only after he gets comfortable with it. He's starting to use more complex tenses, longer sentences, and more descriptive words, although he makes occasional errors and speaks with some hesitation. There's the key word, okay? Occasional errors. So he can do it some of the time. It's going to be advanced. All right. Here we go. Speaking, Lynn, first grade. This is longer than I want it to be, but hopefully it's helpful. Lynn is able to use short, simple sentences. All right, we already got what we need. Short, simple sentences to participate in brief conversations. Let's go back to our speaking. All right, so is she speaking similar to native peers? No. Is she comfortable in academic conversations? Not really, I don't think. Participates in short conversations, hesitate, pause frequently, rarely speak using detail. Possibly. Let's see what beginning would be. Beginning is Speak in simple words or short phrases of memorized or highly familiar material. Very limited vocabulary. Very limited. Okay, so let's keep going. She gave a brief explanation about what she was going to draw, but could not provide details. Okay. After reading A Little Red Hen, the class spent a lot of time discussing the events in the story. When I asked Lynn some questions about the story, she was able to retell some of the events using simple sentence structures and vocabulary from the story. Let's listen.
So what is this about? And can you tell me about the little red hen?
She will make the pancake and Sarah help, but when she's done, they wanted to eat, but she didn't give them, and she gave her chicken.
So there's some detail there. It's sort of it's not a lot. It's kind of difficult to really follow and understand, but she's able to respond simply. Okay. I'm thinking this. What are you guys thinking? Is that okay? Here's some more. Lynn made cards to picnic. When I asked her questions about her family, she was able to speak simply but unable to go into detail. There's the key word. So advanced requires some detail at least. She was not able to go into detail. Let's see.
How many animals did you do? Seven animals? Can you pick your favorite animal for me? Why is that your favorite animal? What animal is that? Why is it your favorite?
Because I like bugs.
What about the bugs do you like?
What comes before? Ring.
Why?
Because it's campfire.
The colors. Where do you see the bugs?
Ground or on the tree.
So see, the difference between a beginning and an intermediate is right there. Where do you see the bugs? Ground or on the tree. So it's very basic. It's on the phrase level. If it were beginning, she might just say ladybug, and then you would only get sort of word level things. But she's able to do very basic. She's able to respond on topic, but it's basic. It doesn't have a lot of details. So intermediate. Okay, so intermediate, the key word you're looking for is basic, really. It's just simple sentence structures and simple vocabulary. Okay, not a lot of detail. Let's keep going. All right, grade 1 listening. Even with a lot of repetition, gestures, and visual supports, okay, we already know we are not at the advanced or advanced high level because it's a lot of repetition, gestures, and visual supports. So we already know we're in beginner or intermediate. Anjali has difficulty understanding simple questions I use to help her practice English she is learning. Although she doesn't understand much of what her classmates say in social situations, okay, that's another key. If they're not understanding much of social situation, it's putting them here. They're not even understanding social language, and even after a lot of gestures, visual supports, they have difficulty in understanding. It's going to be putting them in the beginning. Although she doesn't understand, okay, blah, blah, blah. She's starting to understand routinely used words and phrases in English, but she struggles to follow even simple instructions. Okay, an intermediate is able to follow simple instructions. If they're not able to follow simple instructions, they're not able to participate in social language. She often watches her classmates to see what to do when I give basic instructions. So even the most basic instructions, she's not understanding because she's cueing. She's looking to follow along, which is a great strategy, but that's going to put them at beginning. Okay? Because if we look at listening, let's see. What's my listening flow chart say? My listening flow chart says, oh, it starts with, can they understand long discussions? No. All right, and then we're going to look. understand simple or routine directions? No, she can't understand the simple and routine directions. Struggles to understand familiar topics with linguistic support. That's what's getting to, even with visuals and repetition. So struggle to identify and distinguish individual words and phrases. Not seeking clarification. Beginning. All right. Marcos. All right. So this is listening. Again, we're on listening. We've been studying the water cycle for a few weeks and done a lot of activities to learn the concepts and reinforce the related vocabulary. As a wrap-up activity to this challenging unit, the students made models of the water cycle. When teaching, we don't know anything yet. When a teaching assistant asked Marco about the model he was making, the assistant had to rephrase. Okay, here's what we're looking for. So we're having to rephrase his questions using simpler language. Another key. So they're having to take the language level down. So what are you thinking? Are you thinking the student that's advanced is going to require simpler language? I don't think so. So he had to use simpler language to help Marcos understand and attempt to answer. Marcos seemed to focus on key words to understand what he was being asked to show. So he's able to pick out the key words. Let's see. Let's look at this. Last week our class read a story about a dog that swallowed different animals and then made the sounds of the animals instead of barking. I first pre-taught the vocabulary from the story, and during the read aloud, Marcos appeared to understand the gist of the story. Okay, good. So he's understanding some, okay, after pre-teaching the vocabulary. When I asked him questions about this story a short while later, Marcos showed his ability to understand my simplified language and slowed speech. I already know what this is going to be. I already know. Is he able to understand a long conversation? Remember, that's our first question. Can understand long discussions, directions, conversations? Nope. It's putting us over here. Understand simple or routine directions and simple, short conversations require extensive visual support, speech, and simplified language. I'm thinking understand the gist. Hey, that's even the word of the social and basic instructional language, intermediate. So he needs simplified speech, he needs slow speech, he can understand the gist, but no details, intermediate. Okay? There's a lot of key words that are in these descriptors. Since the topic and language were very familiar to him, he was able to talk about his favorite game. The questions were kept short and simple so he could participate. All right? So this is what a intermediate might need.
The game, the little game?
Yeah.
The Nintendo?
Yeah.
What do you do with that? What do you play in there? What do you play?
Motorcycle.
I don't have that game, so I don't know how to play that. Can you tell me?
And there's one monster trucks.
Tell me about
This is a
that.
familiar topic to him.
They jump.
Okay. So basic, gist. Uh-oh. There's my email. All right, next. How many more we got? We got 2 more. No, we're at 3 more. Kindergarten writing. She has difficulty using English print conversations and writing simple messages. So she has, I already sort of know, all right? Difficulty writing simple messages in English, even on familiar topics. She struggled when writing in her journal about her favorite things. All right, so we already see right here. Do you even see any words? Okay, no. Okay, we got letter strings right here. So the key word, she does not know enough English to contribute or participate meaningfully with the class. All right, remember, intermediate is basic. You can communicate with some very basic, simple language. But if you're not able to do the basic, simple language, you don't have enough English to contribute meaningfully, I already know. It's beginning, okay? And you can tell it's just letter strings. So if you see letter strings like this, it's going to be beginning. Easy one. All right, grade 1. All right, yesterday during language arts activity, I asked Ahmet to write 5 questions in his journal. Ahmet was able to write short, meaningful sentences using high-frequency English. Okay, short, there's the key word, meaningful with high-frequency English. So did it say that he's able to give detail? Because here's our writing flow chart. can write with at least some detail in English. Is he writing with detail? Not really. He's writing with short, meaningful sentences. So we've already got a big clue here. And if you look at his writing here, who want go to police? What as does? I need first grade reading instruction. When has snow? Where are May hamburger? Why we eat more hamburger? Okay. Shared, he used simple English, there's the key word, simple, to talk about his writing. I've observed on other occasions he makes second language acquisition errors when explaining his writing to me. He wrote a story about what he likes to do with his parents. This showed his ability to express himself simply using short sentences and concrete basic English. Done. Is he able to write something? You remember the one that was letter strings and it doesn't convey any meaning? That's beginning. Intermediate is basic communication, short, basic communication. Okay, concrete, basic, not a lot of detail. So you can participate briefly. This is another word, briefly. Writing is limited to simple English without much detail. Advanced is going to have some detail. If it's writing simple English without much detail, that's all I need to know. Intermediate. Okay, I love my mom. And sad dad, sad dad. I can sleep and not I have bike. Okay, so it's very simple, but it's conveying some form of meaning. It's just very simple. Okay, intermediate. Are we on the last one? All right, kindergarten reading. All right, remember reading starts with, are they able to decode? Are they able to decode? Are they able to decode most of grade level appropriate text? Are they able to decode most of grade level appropriate text? If yes, it's going to put them on advanced high. If no, it's going to push them beginning, intermediate. Badu is new to my class and is eager to learn English. He's getting familiar with the sounds of the English language. Okay, so maybe he's not even familiar with the English language sounds, and is learning what sounds go with what English letters. Do you think if he's still learning the sounds that go with the English letters, he's able to decode? Probably not. This process is made easier because he already knows how to code in his native language. Although Baidu is making progress, he struggles a lot when attempting to sound out English words because so many of them are words he doesn't yet understand. Is he able to understand like basic? His limited English vocabulary significantly hinders his understanding of stories of read aloud and his ability to read. Significantly hinders. Significantly. Is he able to understand the gist of the story like before? No, significantly hinders. He's got to have high frequency language and lots of visuals. I add as much visual support as I can and use gestures and slow, careful speech to convey meaning. I continually supplement and scaffold his instruction to accelerate his learning of basic English. So he hasn't even learned basic English. So they'll have a foundation. So what do you think? It's definitely not advanced or advanced high because he's not decoding grade level appropriate text. Is he able to understand the gist of a read aloud? Because that would be intermediate. No. So it's going to be a beginning. All right, let's see how we did. How do you think we did, y'all? Let's submit our ratings. I'm a little nervous. What if I got one wrong? Yes. We did it. 12 out of 12. And you too can do 12 out of 12. You can use this flow chart. Study this flow chart. So basically, maybe I should make like a little basic simplified version of it. But this will help you if you review this. This all comes from the PLDs. I just basically made a flow chart from the PLDs. It'd be nice if we could use this flow chart. I don't know, they probably won't let us use the flow chart, but you can study with this flow chart. And after you take it, you can review this video so that you can see how to get 12 out of 12. You can do it. Just remember, beginning is like significant need, cannot understand basic vocabulary. Level 2, intermediate, is like can get the gist of things, can communicate meaningfully, but it's very limited with no detail. Advanced is going to be able to decode grade level appropriate text, but needs second language acquisition support. They'll be able to express ideas, longer sentences, in some detail. They'll be able to understand longer conversations, but need rephrasing, need repeating. And advanced high can decode, can understand, and speak fluently, use irregular, use past tense, don't need processing time. So anyway, hopefully this is helpful. This was long. I don't know if you've watched this or not, but if you have, you're going to be ready.